The letter. With no name. In the small coastal town of Whitmere, on the Cornish coast, Postmaster Edmund Harlow had kept the same routine for 30 years. Open the post office at 7 each morning, sort the letters, finish his rounds before noon. But that morning, at the very bottom of his delivery bag, he found an envelope with no address. Written on the front in faded ink was a single word: to me. Edmund first thought it was a prank. Perhaps someone had slipped it into the bag by mistake, or a local child playing tricks. But when he opened it, what he found inside unsettled him deeply. In shaky but legible handwriting it read, "By the time you read this, I will no longer be here. But remember, beneath the lighthouse, under the third step, the truth is hidden." No signature, no date, just those few lines. Edmund slipped the letter into his coat pocket and couldn't stop thinking about it all day. He knew nearly everyone in Whitmere who had fallen ill, who had moved away, who might be nursing a secret. But this handwriting felt like nothing he had ever seen before. That evening, once his shift ended, he walked along the cliff path toward the old lighthouse. Whitmere's lighthouse hadn't been in use for decades. The villagers said its doors had been locked since before the war. But when Edmund reached it, he found the door hadn't been locked at all. Only swollen shut with damp, the old bolt long since rusted through. He stepped inside. A cold, salt-scented staircase spiraled upward into darkness. When he reached the third step, he knelt and ran his hand along the wood. It gave slightly beneath his palm. Lifting it, he found a small, rusted tin box. Inside was an old photograph, taken 30 years earlier at Whitmere's harbour, showing two young men grinning into the camera, flat caps pushed back, a fishing boat behind them. On the reverse, a name was written in pencil: Thomas Ashworth. Edmund remembered that name well. 30 years ago, on a wild autumn night, Thomas Ashworth had vanished at sea. His boat found capsized the next morning, his body never recovered. The village had mourned him, spoken of him for years, and then slowly let his memory fade. But who was the second man in the photograph? At the bottom of the tin, Edmund found something else. A small folded scrap of a hand-drawn map. On it someone had marked the old boathouse at the far end of the cove, abandoned now, its roof half collapsed. The next morning Edmund took the letter and the map and walked down to the boathouse. He forced the swollen door open with his shoulder. Inside, among rotting nets and dusty shelves, he found an old leather-bound journal. The pages had yellowed and the ink had faded, but it was still legible. The journal had belonged to Thomas's closest friend, the second man in the photograph. In its pages, that stormy night was recounted in full. Thomas hadn't drowned at all. He had rowed out that night not to fish, but to leave, fleeing a debt and a falling out he couldn't face. And his friend had helped stage the wreck, then carried the secret alone for 30 years. On the final page were these lines: "I told myself I was protecting him. In truth, I was only burying the truth deeper each year. I am old now, and my conscience gives me no peace. To whoever finds this journal and this letter, I leave the burden and the choice of what to do with what really happened that night." When Edmund closed the journal, he sat for a long while in silence, the smell of salt and rot thick around him. He now held a 30-year-old secret in his hands. Should he tell what remained of Thomas's family? Should he bring it before the whole village? Or was this a truth better left where it had lain for 3 decades? Quiet, buried, harming no one further. The lighthouse stood above the cove, still, silent, watching over Whitmere as it always had. And Edmund, the pages trembling slightly in his hands, understood that he too had now become part of the story. Some secrets wait patiently for the right moment to surface. Others choose to remain forever in the shadow of the lighthouse,